The Arctic stretches endlessly under a sky bruised with twilight, a frozen kingdom of ice and silence where the wind howls like a mourner's cry. Amid this desolate beauty, a polar bear cub, small, no more than a bundle of snowy fur, clings to a shrinking ice floe, its paws scrabbling against the slick edge. We'll call her Nuna, a name whispered by the wind, though no one knows it yet. Her mother is gone, lost to the dark waters, when a thunderous crack split their world apart hours ago, leaving Nuna alone, adrift in a sea that's claiming more of her home every day. Her whimpers pierce the stillness, faint and desperate, carried across the waves like a plea no one hears. Far off on the edge of this icy expanse, a research outpost hums with life. Dr. Elena Voss, a biologist with eyes sharp as the Arctic dawn, peers through binoculars from a weathered tower, her breath fogging the glass. She spent years tracking polar bears, her heart tethered to their fading world, but today something catches her, a speck on the horizon, a flicker of white against the gray. "There's something out there," she mutters, her voice tight with curiosity. Beside her, Marcus Kane, a gruff ex-fisherman turned station handyman, grunts dismissively, his beard flecked with frost. "Probably just ice," he says, but Elena's instinct flares. She knows life when she sees it. She grabs her radio, calling the team. "Suit up, we're going out." The outpost buzzes as researchers and locals, Inuit hunters who've joined the effort, bundle into heavy coats, their faces etched with weariness but resolve. Among them is Aput, a young hunter with a quiet strength, his dark eyes scanning the horizon he's known since childhood. They load a boat with ropes, thermal blankets, and a crate, the engine roaring to life as they cut through the icy slush. Marcus lags behind, his boots heavy on the dock, muttering, "Waste of time in this storm." But Elena's gaze is fixed on that distant speck, Nuna's whimpers echoing in her mind, though she can't yet hear them. The boat slices forward, the wind biting their faces, the ice groaning beneath an unseen strain. As night falls, the team nears the floe, their lights catching Nuna's trembling form. Alone, vulnerable, a tiny life against a vast, melting doom. Dawn breaks over the Arctic, a pale, reluctant light that barely warms the frozen sea. The research boat bobs in choppy waters, its hull grinding against jagged ice as the team stares at Nuna's floe. Now closer, but still a perilous reach away. The cub huddles at its center, her fur matted with salt and ice, her paws slipping as the floe tilts with each wave. Her whimpers have weakened, a fragile thread in the wind's howl, and Elena Voss feels them in her bones. "She's running out of time," she says, her voice steady but urgent, binoculars pressed to her eyes. The ice is melting fast, cracks spider-webbing beneath Nuna, water lapping at her edges, a cruel reminder of the climate's relentless march. Marcus Kane leans against the boat's rail, his arms crossed, his scowl deepening. "This is madness," he growls, his breath clouding in the frigid air. "That ice'll give before we get there. And then what? We drown for a bear?" Elena turns, her gaze piercing. "We don't leave her. Not when we can help." Apit steps forward, his calm voice cutting through the tension. "My people have lived with these bears forever. She's one of us, part of this place. We save her." The team nods, their resolve hardening, though the storm brews darker, clouds thickening overhead. They unpack gear, ropes, a makeshift raft, a long pole with a loop. Each move deliberate, their hands trembling not just from cold, but fear of failure. The boat edges closer, the engine straining as ice chunks scrape its sides. Elena calls out orders. "Aput, ready the raft. Marcus, man the ropes. We'll pull her in." Marcus grumbles but complies, his rough hands coiling the line, his eyes flickering with something unspoken. Doubt, maybe, or a buried memory of loss. Aput launches the raft, a small inflatable barely steady in the swell, and paddles toward Nuna, his strokes strong against the current. The cub lifts her head, her eyes locking onto him, a spark of hope in her exhaustion. But the flow shifts, a loud crack splitting the air, and a chunk breaks free, drifting away. "Hurry!" Elena shouts, her voice raw, as Aput nears, the raft rocking dangerously. Nuna's paws slip, her body sliding toward the edge, and the team holds its breath. The Arctic morning darkens, storm clouds rolling in like a shroud over the fractured sea. Nuna's flow tilts precariously, water surging over its edges, her tiny body sliding as she claws at the ice with weakening strength. Apat's raft bobs just feet away, his paddle slicing through the waves, his face set with quiet determination. "Easy, little one," he calls, his voice soft against the wind's roar, extending the pole with its looped rope toward her. Nuna's eyes, glassy with fatigue, follow the movement, her head lifting as if she senses rescue. On the boat, Elena grips the rail, her knuckles white, whispering, "Come on, Aput. You've got this." Marcus stands beside her, silent now, his hands tight on the rope, ready to pull. Aput steadies the raft, the loop hovering over Nuna's head, but the sea fights back. A wave slams the floe, tipping it sharply, and Nuna slips, her paws flailing as she tumbles toward the water. "No!" Elena cries, her voice lost in the storm, as Aput lunges, the loop catching Nuna's neck just as she hits the edge. He pulls, the cub dangling half off the ice, her weight dragging the raft down. The floe cracks again, a deafening snap, and a massive piece shears off, sinking into the black depths. Aput strains, his arms burning, but the rope holds. Nuna scrambles back onto what's left, trembling, soaked, alive. The team cheers, a fleeting burst of hope, but it's short-lived. The storm unleashes its fury, wind whipping the sea into a frenzy, ice shards pelting the boat. Aput's raft spins, the current yanking him away from Nuna, the rope slipping from his grip. "Pull him back," Elena shouts, and Marcus hauls the line, his gruff strength a lifeline as Aput fights the waves. The raft slams against the boat, Aput collapsing aboard, soaked and gasping. Nuna's flow drifts further, smaller now, her cries swallowed by the gale. Elena stares, her heart sinking. "We were so close," she whispers, tears freezing on her cheeks. Marcus turns away, muttering, "Told you it's hopeless," but his voice cracks, betraying a flicker of care. The act ends with the team battered, Nuna out of reach, the storm raging, a failure that cuts deeper than the cold. The Arctic storm descends like a vengeful god, its winds screaming across the sea, hurling ice and spray against the boat. Nuna's flow is a distant speck now, shrinking with every wave, her tiny form barely visible as she clings to its center, her whimpers lost to the tempest. The team huddles on deck, drenched and shivering, their faces pale under hoods pulled tight. Elena Voss stands at the bow, her eyes locked on Nuna, her coat whipping around her like a flag of defiance. "We're not giving up," she says, her voice fierce against the wind's howl. "She's still out there." Aput nods, wringing water from his gloves, his quiet resolve unshaken. "She's strong. We try again." Marcus Kane paces, his boots thudding on the deck, his growl cutting through the noise. "Try again? Look at this. Ice breaking. Waves like mountains. We'll die out here, and for what?" Elena rounds on him, her gaze blazing. "For a life, Marcus. For something bigger than us." He freezes, her words striking a chord he doesn't acknowledge, his eyes flickering with a buried wound. Perhaps a child lost, a regret he's never voiced. The boat lurches, a wave crashing over the side, soaking their gear. The captain, an older Inuit man named Tila, shouts, "We can't stay much longer. Hull's taking a beating." Elena clenches her fists, torn between safety and Nuna's fading hope. They rig a new plan, stronger ropes, a net, a flare to mark Nuna's spot. Aput ties the knots, his hands steady despite the cold, while Elena checks the flare gun, her breath ragged. Marcus grudgingly reinforces the raft, his gruff hands moving with surprising care. The storm peaks, lightning splitting the sky, illuminating Nuna's flow as it cracks again, half its size now. Water surging around her. "Fire it!" Elena yells, and Aput launches the flare, a streak of red arcing high, bursting above Nuna, a beacon in the chaos. The team watches, hearts pounding, as the light fades. The cub still clinging, the act ending with the boat rocking violently, their resolve tested by nature's unrelenting wrath. The storm rages on, a relentless beast tearing at the Arctic night. But a faint shift glimmers. The wind eases, just enough to hear the sea's mournful groan. Nuna's flow glows under the flare's dying embers, a fragile island in the dark, her body curled tight, her strength waning. On the boat, Elena Voss wipes ice from her face, her eyes burning with a fire that defies the cold. "This is our chance," she says, her voice a rallying cry. "The storm's breaking. We go now." Aput nods, his hands already on the raft, while Sheila steadies the helm, his weathered face grim but willing. Marcus stands silent, his arms crossed, but he doesn't protest. Something's shifted in him, a crack in his armor. They launch the raft again, Aput and Elena aboard this time, their paddles slicing through calmer waves. The flare's light guides them, Nuna's form sharpening as they close in, her fur sodden, her paws slipping, her eyes flickering with fading life. "We're here," Elena whispers, her voice trembling with hope, as Aput extends the net. Nuna lifts her head, a weak growl rumbling from her chest, a spark of fight left. They sweep the net beneath her, but the flow tilts, water rushing in, and she slides. Elena lunges, grabbing Nuna's scruff, pulling her into the net as Aput steadies the raft. "Got her!" she cries, her arms shaking, Nuna's weight a precious burden. The boat's crew cheers, Marcus hauling the rope with a grunt, his face softening as Nuna nears. But the ice fights back. A final crack splits the flow entirely, sinking beneath the waves just as they pull away. The raft rocks, Nuna thrashing weakly in the net, her cries sharp with fear. Elena holds her tight, whispering, "You're safe now," though the sea still churns, the storm's tail lashing. They reach the boat, hands lifting Nuna aboard, her soaked fur dripping onto the deck. Marcus kneels, unexpected tenderness in his rough hands as he wraps her in a thermal blanket. The act ends with Nuna trembling but alive, the team exhausted yet triumphant, the storm's roar fading into a fragile calm, a turning point etched in ice and heart. The Arctic night settles, the storm's fury spent, leaving a sky speckled with stars over a sea of broken ice. Nuna lies on the boat's deck, wrapped in a blanket, her breathing shallow but steady, her eyes half open as Elena Voss strokes her damp fur. "You made it, little one," she murmurs, her voice thick with relief, tears freezing on her lashes. Apit sits nearby, warming his hands by a portable heater, his quiet smile a beacon of hope. The team gathers around, their faces softened by exhaustion and awe, watching the cub they've fought for. Marcus Kane hovers at the edge, his gruff exterior cracking as he mutters, "Tough little thing," his hand brushing Nuna's head, an unguarded moment of care. Sheila steers the boat back toward the outpost. The engines hum a steady pulse against the water's slap. The ice thins as they go, cracks widening, a grim testament to the melting world they're leaving behind. Elena pulls a notebook from her pack, sketching Nuna's rescue, her hands trembling, not from cold, but emotion. "This is why we're here," she says, her voice low, "to save what we can." Apit nods, adding, "My grandfather said the bears carry the spirit of the ice. If they're gone, we lose ourselves." The words hang heavy, a truth they all feel, even Marcus, who turns away, his silence louder than his earlier protests. Nuna stirs, her paws twitching, a faint growl escaping as she nestles deeper into the blanket. The team tends her. Water dripped into her mouth, a small chunk of fish offered by Apit, her strength flickering back. The outpost looms ahead, its lights a warm promise against the dark. But the journey's toll lingers. Bruised hands, soaked clothes, the weight of what they've seen. The act ends with the boat docking, Nuna cradled in Elena's arms as they step onto solid ground. The Arctic night whispering around them. A return marked by victory, but shadowed by the melting ice they can't unsee. Dawn spills over the research outpost, a soft gold washing the snow-dusted buildings nestled against the Arctic shore. Inside a heated lab, Nuna rests in a padded crate, her fur drying into a fluffy white, her sprained paw bandaged by Elena's careful hands. A vet, Dr. Kale, examines her, his voice gentle. She's dehydrated, malnourished, but resilient. A few weeks and she'll be strong. Elena nods, her eyes never leaving Nuna, her fingers tracing the cub's side. She's a fighter, she says, her voice a mix of pride and ache. Aput brings a bowl of water, coaxing Nuna to drink, her tongue lapping weakly but eagerly. Marcus lingers by the door, his arms crossed, watching with a quiet intensity he doesn't explain. The outpost buzzes with activity, researchers logging data, locals sharing stories of the rescue over steaming mugs of tea. Apat's uncle, an elder named Tak, joins them, his weathered face creasing with a smile. "You've honored the ice today," he says, his voice deep with reverence. "The cub lives because of you." Elena smiles faintly, but her mind churns. Images of cracking flows, rising waters, a world slipping away. She steps outside, the cold biting her cheeks, and stares at the horizon, where ice once stretched unbroken, now fractured and thin. "We saved her," she whispers. "But what about the rest?" Marcus follows, unexpected, his boots crunching beside her. "You're not wrong," he says, his tone gruff but softer. "Seen too many seasons change. Too fast now." Back inside, Nuna grows steadier, her eyes brighter, her growls stronger as she bats at Aput's hand. The team plans her future, a sanctuary up north, a place to learn survival, to grow wild again. Elena sketches again, her pencil tracing Nuna's form, a record of this fragile victory. Days blur into weeks at the outpost, the Arctic sun lingering longer as spring creeps in, softening the snow into slush. Nuna thrives in her crate, her fur thick and glossy, her paws testing the floor with growing confidence. Elena Voss sits beside her, a notebook open, her voice narrating softly as she records. "Day 14. Nuna's eating well, moving more. She's healing, but the ice isn't." Aput joins her, offering fish scraps. Nuna snaps up, his quiet presence a comfort. "She's like us," he says, his eyes distant, trying to hold on while everything shifts. Elena nods, her gaze drifting to a window where the sea glints, a sea that's claimed too much already. Marcus Kane works outside, repairing a snowmobile, his hands steady but his mind restless. He's changed, less gruff, more present, drawn to Nuna's crate daily, though he'd never admit why. One evening he lingers, his voice low as he mutters to her, "Lost my boy to the sea years back. Couldn't save him. Guess you're my second chance, huh?" The words hang, raw and unguarded, a confession to a cub who can't reply. Elena overhears, her heart twisting, but says nothing. Marcus's walls are down, and that's enough. The team debates Nuna's next step. Release her to a sanctuary, teach her to hunt, let her reclaim the wild. Tak weighs in, his voice heavy. "The ice won't hold her kind much longer. We save her, but we must save more." They gather data, melt rates, bare sightings, a grim tally of loss. Elena's sketches pile up, Nuna's growth a bright spot against darkening charts. Spring deepens, the Arctic air warming, the ice retreating further from the outpost shore. Nuna's crate is moved to a larger pen, her movements swift now, her growls fierce as she pounces on toys Aput crafts from rope and wood. Elena Voss watches, her smile bittersweet. "She's ready," she says, her voice steady but laced with farewell. Dr. Kell confirms, "She's strong, hunting skills next, then release." The team prepares, a sanctuary 200 miles north, a place of fjords and ice where Nuna can learn her wild roots. They pack a truck, crate, food, tracking collar, their hands busy but hearts heavy. Aput teaches Nuna, tossing fish she chases, his laughter rare and warm. "She'll hunt seals soon," he says, pride in his eyes. Elena joins, her hands guiding the cub, her mind on the melting ice beyond. Marcus, quieter now, builds a ramp for the truck, his rough hands gentle as he tests it, ensuring Nuna's safety. "She's gotta make it," he mutters, a vow to himself as much as her. Tak blesses the journey, his words a prayer to the spirits of ice and sea, his presence a bridge between old ways and new fights. The team trains too, mock rescues, collar tests, knowing Nuna's release is just the start. Elena drafts a speech, her voice breaking as she practices. "She's one life, but she's a symbol. We can't stop here." The sanctuary glows under a spring sun, its fjords glinting with meltwater, its ice still thick enough to hold a promise. Nuna's crate sits in a clearing, surrounded by Elena, Aput, Marcus, Tak, and the team, their coats shed in the warming air, their eyes fixed on the cub they've saved. She's robust now, her fur a radiant white, her paws steady as she steps out, sniffing the breeze. Elena kneels, her voice trembling. "Go on, Nuna. This is yours." The door swings wide and Nuna hesitates, her head turning to them. Elena's tears, Apat's nod, Marcus's rare smile, then bolts, a streak of life vanishing into the icy wild. Apat whispers, "She's home," his voice thick, while Marcus wipes his eyes, gruffly turning away. "Damn cub," he mutters, but his heart's in it. Elena stands, her chest tight, watching the spot where Nuna faded, her mind racing. More bears, more ice, more to do. Back at the outpost, they launch a campaign. Photos of Nuna, pleas for conservation, a vow to fight the melt. Tak's words echo, "She's the first, not the last." The team scatters, Elena to research, Aput to his village, Marcus to the sea, each carrying Nuna's story, a spark of change.